Can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. I'm having some teething problems with this as well. One of them evenings. Let me know if you can hear me. Yeah, good. Is it clear? Hi, Timothy. You all right, Rob? Yes, it is. Good. Look, you can even see you text to you writing in there. Okay. It's the heat. Yeah, man. Probably is, to be fair. So it's not just that. So I had it's going to be a bit of a pain. So if I keep looking around there, it's because with this kind of setup I've got that's very kind of lastminute.com, I've got kind of camera there and screen here. Can't really get it sorted any other way, particularly at the moment. So I'm going to keep having to look this way. I can't put the laptop on my lap because I will just melt. It's too hot as it is. So you're going to have to bear with me as I kind of look over there. So apologies, I'm not looking at you all the time. But yeah, so I had a computer meltdown, I would say probably about 2 months ago, where I pretty much lost everything, had to completely restart it and basically rebuild the computer, which was very painful and pretty worrying. Thankfully, most of my stuff had backed up to a hard disk, to a hard drive, so I didn't lose too much, but it was still a bit of a pain in the ass, to say the least. So I lost that. Obviously, when I reset it, I've lost everything. So I've got all my kind of overlays and stuff all saved, but I haven't got the programs and everything that I used to kind of get it all set up. So I've got to reinstall all that, because it's been so long since I've done a live show, as you probably know. So that's kind of the reason why this is a little bit amateur, but hopefully it still kind of works and you can kind of hear me. You're Alex, Joel, hello. So yeah, so like apologies that it's pretty amateur. Hopefully the you can hear what I'm saying, and kind of that's the main thing. I'm also, it's a little bit late because my wife decided she wanted to go out for the evening and not contact me to tell me that she's running late. But anyway, she's on her way home now, so whatever. I'm going to be eating probably at about midnight, but that's by the by. So the reason why I wanted to do this ad hoc show, one, to kind of say hello again, because it's probably been about 3 weeks since I posted the last video, which was my Hive Guard tactics video. And I wanted to, kind of say hello on this channel, even though hopefully you guys have seen that I've been mentally busy over on Twisted Dice, just trying to, we're really kind of working on the channel just to get it up to where we need it to be. Thankfully, it's really kind of getting there, and we're flying through that. So if you haven't already, obviously subscribe over there, but hopefully you are already, and you get to see a lot of the kind of battle reports and stuff going on over there. But there's no plans for the Ace Face channel to kind of slow down, I don't know, but stop, definitely not. I've just kind of had to dedicate quite a lot of time to it. Both Sean and Darren and Chris are pretty new to kind of YouTube or anything like that, so I've had to do quite a lot of work to kind of get us in a place where we need to, so it's sort of self-sustainable, and the guys are putting in the work, so thankfully we're kind of getting where we need to now, so it's all positive stuff. But the main reason, apart from kind of saying hello and kind of chatting to you guys this evening, was I wanted to both kind of give a little bit of a shout out and a promote to an event that I'm going to this weekend, but also to share my list and talk that through, and to talk through some of the other lists. I'm not sure whether I'm going to get through all of them, but I'm definitely going to kind of highlight particularly a few of the ones that I would say are the kind of standout ones, and what I really like about them, or what really kind of scares me going forward. So that's the kind of plan. Hopefully I'm not going to hold you guys up too long, and we'll kind of keep it kind of short and sharp. So the tournament I'm going to is WarZone Mann, which is over in the Isle of Man. I believe this is the third time that the event has been held, but it's been held very differently previous, and it's very much been something that's pretty much unique to the guys over there, sort of running and playing in their own tournament that are used to kind of playing in their club sort of weekly. So Simon, or should I say One Sesh, as he's lovingly known, has kind of decided to kind of throw it out there and try and build it more as a GT, you know, and put a little bit of extra work in and kind of bring it together as something that will attract people from not just the Isle of Man, but actually across onto the mainland. So, you know, big investment in time and money. So well done, One Sesh. You've done a great job so far at bringing it together, and I'm really excited and looking forward to it. This hopefully will just be just a start. So you can have a look at it on Facebook. There's quite a few bits and pieces and posts over there. It's on the ITC circuit, so you can kind of, you know, you can get your points there, and it is a GT now, so great stuff there. But I think going forward, it's going to grow and grow and grow, and it's a cool place to go. I've never visited the Isle of Man. I think, you know, it's a very small place, really tiny. I think, you know, it's like a couple of shops and a village hall, but I'm looking forward to going anyway and seeing seeing all my friends that have kind of, you know, that I've kind of seen at events over the years, and it's great to kind of go to their neck of the woods. You know, they're all family and, you know, brothers and sisters and stuff. So I'm just getting messages here, bear with me. But yes, so really pleasing to kind of go over there and see kind of their neck of the woods and kind of be in their home turf, and kind of visit. So definitely, if you want to kind of go over and see somewhere different, particularly if, you know, you want to kind of go on a little bit of a wargaming kind of holiday and want to see somewhere different, you know, why not give it a go next time it's around? I'm not sure whether it's just going to be a once a year thing. I think it probably will, but, you know, definitely check it out and look forward to the next one comes up. I'll definitely promote it heavily on the channel, so I'll put a bit on there. But so let's kind of, I'm going to have a quick look at the comments before we dive in, and then after that we'll have a little look at the lists, and I'll first kick off with what I'm taking. So I'll just read the comments, guys. So obviously a lot of people, looks like from the event, have kind of logged in. So I look forward to catching up with you guys tomorrow. Who let you in, Heat? He invented himself as per normal. Yeah, just a few people just kind of chatting on there. Yeah, so basically good. Right, so nothing that I need to kind of talk about in there, and it sounds like I'm still coming across kind of loud and clear, which is good. So I'm just going to use my BCP app, another little plug there. So if you haven't already, and you're into both your lists and your tournaments and stuff, most big events now are going ITC, whether they're ITC missions or whether they're not. So they're registering with ITC, so they're mostly going through the Best Coast Pairing app, and the Best Coast Pairing app is a wicked place where you can kind of, if you subscribe to it, it's a free app, so you can do your event for it. But if you subscribe to it, and it's only, I think it's like 50 quid a year, but if you subscribe to it, you can try to check out any list from any event. You can keep up to date with your kind of progress, and I really like it. So it's kind of a little bit of a by the wayside, but yeah, so I'm going on there, and I've got my lists up, and I can kind of have a look through them. So let's start off with my list. So again, if I was kind of prepped, I'd have pictures and all sorts going on, but I haven't. So my list is a Chaos Mix list. So it's what would be called a Thousand Suns list, because there are more points in Thousand Suns than anything else. But it is a bit of it's kind of a bit of a soup list, I suppose. And it consists of a Supreme Command Detachment, which in it has Mann. He is my Warlord. It's quite nice to have him as your Warlord, because you get that free up invon. Makes him a little bit resilient when you can kind of get through to him. He really can be quite tanky. And if he wants to kind of go off and be a bit of a scud missile, he's a bit of a silent assassin. The guy can really do some serious damage. He's actually really good in combat as well, which is quite nice. So you've got him as a Warlord. Then I have 2 Demon Princes. The Demon Princes are the index version, so they've got the Warp Bolters, and they've got, so one has the crown, not the crown, the Helm of the Third Eye relic, which is the farming relic, which is nice. They've got wings, and 2 sets of Malefic Talons. So pretty solid unit, good at dishing out a bit of damage, but also, you know, they're great for kind of lending hand with that psychic support. I think got an Exalted Sorcerer on a disc. He's just got the kind of standard stuff, giving him a little warp pistol, quite nice for Overwatch with that, you know, that -2. It's quite tasty, but also, you know, generally just a little bit of offense there for a little bit of crowd control as well. So not too bad against sort of little light stuff. It can do a little bit of work. He's got his full staff, and that's kind of him. I've then got a Xango Shaymin, pretty much the cheapest access to Smite. And because he's an elite slot, I can chuck him in. There's an elite slot in the Supreme Command Detachment that most people completely forget about. So he kind of sits in there, which is quite nice. Again, he's on a disc, pretty quick, no penalties for Smite, so quids in. And then I have Magnus the Red. So Magnus the Red, a little bit of a weak link, to be fair. He can be an absolute monster. He can die first turn, but he's just one of those ones. I always like to take something big and kind of fun in my list. It's kind of the way I play. So I generally play with something scary. If it's Tau, I'm playing with like Wavaras. Tyranids, I'm playing with like the Swarm Lord or Hive Tyrants. You know, and if I'm playing my Nergal on its own, I'm tending to play with like Mortarion. I like a big scary unit. It's kind of, I just think it's fun. It's not necessarily the most optimized way to play it. And I think if I wanted to kind of tailor the list to make it really hard hitting, I'd probably take him out, add more like another Aspiring Sorcerer, add in another Demon Prince, or just add in another unit of 30 Plague Bearers to make it really competitive. But that's kind of by the by. I wanted to bring him. I think he's fun. You have to deal with him. If you don't deal with him, he is a one-man wrecking machine. He's also very, very good at killing knights, which is kind of why, again, I wanted him. I don't like knights. There's too many of them around, and I want to do some damage to them. So that's the Supreme Command Detachment. Then I have a Battalion Detachment. In the Battalion Detachment, I have Sloppity Bile Piper. Never get tired of using that name. I've got the Scrivener, Squirrel Pox or something, and the other, basically the Herald of Nergal. So they're my HQ slots, I suppose, for that. I'll definitely have generally the kind of -1 to hit spell. That's the one I kind of go for. 10 for the Herald, and then the little buffs from the other guys are quite handy. Then I have 2 units of 3 Nergalins, and I have 2 units of 30 Plague Bearers with full command. And that's my list. So, you know, it's actually not that many drops. I can underdrop quite a few people, so I will potentially get a few +1s, which I quite like, because that's nice. Particularly when you've got Magnus, you really want Chen to go first, depending on who you're going against. But anything with a strong alpha strike, you probably want to be having Magnus first. So that's kind of in the planning a little bit. And I will get that +1 quite a lot of the time, or over 50% of the time statistically. So, you know, that's decent. So I suppose before I'll have a quick look at the comments and see what people think. So my kind of expectations for my list, when we talk through the other lists, you'll see there's a lot of strength in these lists. You know, I'm a fairly competent player, so I should be able to do okay. I don't think it's the best list by a long shot. I think there's probably about 4 or 5 better lists that are clearly better in my mind. I'm probably going to struggle to go against, but I've got a lot of experience from playing ITC and playing good players at ITC, so that will help me out. And you know, I think the list is good enough to do well. It's got a lot of nice elements. It's apart from the psychic phase, which is quite lengthy. It's quite quick to play. It doesn't really have any shooting particularly. You can just kind of push it up. So it's not too difficult to play as well. So it's got a few nice little kind of tricky stratagems and few little like shenanigans with the with psychic powers, but it's quite easy to play. So from that point of view, I'm quite confident playing it. I know what I'm kind of doing, and hopefully it will do all right. So I'll have a quick look at the comments, and then we'll talk about a few of the other lists. Gotta have Swarmy for playing Nids. Yep. Hello. 8 Dogs Marines. Yeah, so no real comments on there, which is cool. So that's fine. So we'll just go on and have a look at a few lists. So I'm not going to go through, as I said, I'm not going to go through every list because I don't want this video to be too long because I'm pretty hungry. I want to eat some food in a minute. But I will start off with Mr. Heap's list, who is in the chat, or was in the chat. I want to highlight Alex's list, particularly because he's the reigning champion of this event, if that means anything. So obviously he's going to want to retain his title, and he's brought a solid list to do it. It's a very typical Alex list. It's what I'd expect. It's a real kind of abomination of soup at its worst. It's everything that's wrong with the game, and some. So it's probably going to look a bag of crap on the table, and be very tricksy. So I kind of joke because Alex is an amazing painter, and if he ever decides to actually bring a unified force that actually looks like an army, he pretty much walks away with the painting title like that because he's got the skills to pay the bills. But I personally think he ruins it every single time by taking a hodgepodge of soup and disgusting looking armies. So that's my 2 pence. But anyway, let's dive in and talk about the meat and potatoes of this list. So he has also got a Supreme Command Detachment. He is rocking out with 3 shield captains on bike, custodes. They've all got the Hurricane Bolters, which is kind of your standard loadout, nice and cheap and cheerful, 150 points of just really solid unit, puts out quite a bit of shots, very accurate, can do a lot of work in combat as well, very quick, mobile. Yeah, just a really, really solid unit. You can't go wrong with them at that point. That efficiency is just really strong. It also gives him access to obviously all the stratagems from the custodes, and there's some decent ones in there. And that's probably the easiest, straightforward piece of the army. The rest of it's quite tricksy. So he's got a Space Marine battalion, Space Marine battalion made up of lots of different kind of chapters. And obviously you can do that because they're still sharing the 2 keywords. So it doesn't matter that it's post FAQ; it still works. They lose a lot. They lose a chapter tactics, but they still gain access to certain bits and pieces. So it's a tricksy way of doing it. So he's got a Tech Marine with a Conversion Beamer. Conversion Beamer is actually a solid weapon. Can do a lot of damage from range. Pretty nice. He's got a Jetpack Captain with a Thunder Hammer, Storm Shield. He's Smash Captain, very typical. Shield Eternal, and he's Raven Guard. So obviously the big thing with Raven Guard is it gives him the access from Strike from the Shadows because he's Raven Guard. So that means he can, he can be a bit sneaky with that. He's then got 3 units of 5 Scouts. He's got 1 Black Templar, and then he's got 2 Ultramarines ones. Not really too sure about the Black Templar one. I think that is to do with anti-psyker, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that gives him some kind of, gives him a little bit of anti-psyker there. And he's got 3 Cenobite Servitors, which are Black Templars, I think they say it. Again, not really too sure what they do, to be honest. I think they're probably there to keep the relics that I'll come to in a minute in check. And repair them potentially. Then he has a unit of 4 aggressors. Aggressors are one of the best things that Space Marines have access to. And of course, he's made them Raven Guard as well, so they can strike from the shadows. Then he has 2 relics, Scorpiuses, which are really, really good units. And they're a real kind of funny one because they sit kind of in between. They're not quite crowd control, but they don't necessarily do massive amounts of damage to really, really big things, apart from the way that Alex is going to run them. And I'll kind of go to that in the final kind of piece of this list. They're both Ultramarines, which might give you a clue of where we're going. Then he has Reaper carriers with quad launchers. So he's got 2 of those. And again, they are probably a little bit more anti-horde, so they're pretty decent at that. And then he has a super heavy auxiliary detachment with Rowboat himself, Mr. Papa G, and he'll obviously stand around those Scorpiuses and the Rapier carriers, just making sure that he's re-rolling hits and wounds, which is nice. So that makes that then very, very accurate and very reliable. He can deploy them all out of line of sight, so he hasn't got to worry about them being shot, and can just keep throwing volleys and volleys of very accurate, quite dangerous stuff upfield. So overall, it's a good solid list. It definitely packs a punch. It's got a distraction element there in both the shield captains as well as the aggressors. So he can kind of pretty much split his army behind Gilliman sitting at the back guarding things, and then he'll have the shield captains with the aggressors kind of getting in your face, trying to do as much damage as you can, soaking up fire, so you can kind of win the long game. Still probably lacking like any amount of troops to hold those objectives, because the likelihood is, particularly if he doesn't get turn 1, the scouts will die pretty quickly, and he might then start to struggle holding those midfield objectives. But he should, in an ITC format, pretty much always hold 1 objective, because Gilliman will probably sit on that as well, or around it, and he'll probably kill a unit a turn. So it's a pretty solid list. It also doesn't give away very many points in the ITC missions. It denies a lot of them, and because of the scouts, it denies a lot of space as well. So it's a tricksy list. It's very, very tricksy. It's kind of, you have to read between the lines a little bit with it, but he'll definitely do well with it. It's a kind of top 5 or thereabouts list. Definitely not an obvious one. I'm just reading through here. Is that like whack? Soup. Soup's not like whack. Soup is basically a combination of different factors, Chris. So it's basically you just fit as many kind of factions into one army to make a soup up. That's what it means. Yeah, well, Rob just kind of explained that anyway. Right, so that's Alex's list. Definitely a good one. Now let's have a look at. I've got Colonel Cosgrove here, or Colonel. I think is it Colonel? I don't know. And it's the first of the Imperial Knight lists, and a really solid list. Really, really solid list. So quite scary stuff. So he's gone for the Questus Mechanicus, and he has a super heavy detachment, which consists of a Knight Acheron, and that's the Warlord. So it's got the Iron Bulwark, which from my guessing, that will give him a 3-up invuln pretty much all the time, which is really scary. Not in combat, but I think he has, I believe he has a 4-up. I'm not sure actually. I think those knights, the knights from Fortran, I think they have a 4-up set invuln. But then he will have a 3-up, I think, from shooting, I believe. Not 100% sure. But anyway, he's very resilient. It's a solid choice. Then he has a Castellan, which is the big new knight, which is great. He's got that siege breaker cannons, 2 of them. So he's gone for the really shooty version. Then he's got a Walden with Avenger Gatling cannon and the Thunderstrike Gauntlet, so he can use that cheeky little stratagem, the Death Grip. Then he has the dreaded Helverins. He's got 2 of those. He's got melter guns on, which is an interesting option. I think that's maybe just have some points spare. And then he's got the Forged Shrine, which is just really, really good kind of sort of fortification for knights. So it's a really, really good list. Really, really solid list. It's got very few drops. It's going to do well. Only thing he struggles with is he doesn't have loads and loads of command points. So he's probably not going to be using too many of before game stratagems to give himself extra stuff to make more characters and stuff. Because otherwise he's probably going to go into the game with like 3 CPs left or something like that. So it's good. It's a really strong list. I don't think it's the strongest of the night lists, and we'll talk about that next. So this is Dean's list, aka the net lister. Apparently this is just a coincidence that this is the same list that's everywhere, but there you go. But it's a very, very solid list. So Dean has gone for Hawk Shroud, which, you know, no one's heard of going for Hawk Shroud. That's, you know, that's a real strange decision. Joking apart, that's the best one, I would say, on the whole. It just keeps your nights ticking longer. He's got two Armiger Warglaives, which are probably the only part of the list which maybe are not as optimal. You're probably better to go with Helverins. But the Armiger Warglaives are still very, very good. They'll definitely do a lot of damage, both with their melters and with the fact that they can actually do a bit of work in combat. He's then got a Knight Castellan, again, same kind of loadout, volcano cannon and all that goodness. Great choice, solid list, solid option to go for. Then he's got a Walden. The Walden has got Endless Fury, so he's got the relic Gatling cannon, which is a great choice. He's then got another Night Warden again with another Gatling cannon, obviously. So they're just solid. Then he has a Battalion Detachment to get his CPs up, and it is the Imperial Guard. And he has the Kuros's Aquila, of course, commander, who's his warlord. In fact, that's interesting, because I'm not sure whether he can take relics within his household if he has his warlord in the Imperial Guard detachment. I thought you could only take relics from your detachment with your warlord in. Maybe put it in the comments now if you... I'm not sure. I thought that was the case. I thought in the small print at the top it says, if your warlord is from Salala, you can take relics. Yeah. So that might be interesting. I don't know. I might be completely wrong. It might be different in the night one. But if that's the case, then he can't take the Endless Fury. Yeah, he can't take that. And so interesting. So put here. Now you can use the strats. You can use the strats to take from other codexes. I don't think you can take stratagems. You can't do the relics. Let us know. Alex is pretty good with these things. Got a feeling he might not be able to take that if he goes for the Aquila. Anyway, he then has a Primaris Psyker. He has an infantry squad with 7 guardsmen, heavy weapon with a mortar, which again is the way to go if you're playing ITC. Very much the net option. And then he has another unit again, and then he has a unit of 9 guys. So standard stuff, really, but really powerful list. He's got tons of shooting. He's got loads of access to lots of CPs. He's got CP regeneration. He's got some high damage stuff. He's got some spit. Yeah, it's just a really, really powerful list. Probably one of the best in here. So let's look at Hobo, or Jojo, as other people know him. Absolute legend. He has gone for a very interesting list, and a list I actually think is so exciting. I just really want to watch this play because it is frightening on paper. So he's gone for another night list. He's gone for House Terran, which are the kind of combat experts, which is again a Questus Imperialis. And he has a Knight Lancer, which are incredibly quick, hit like a ton of bricks. He then has a Crusader. Crusader has got his Avenger Gatling Cannon and a Thermo Cannon, which is just great. And then he has not 1, not 2, but 3 Knight Gallants, which is so funny. So they are seriously combat orientated knights. And he's just going to run at you. So this list is basically just designed to run headlong with the Crusader sitting at the back, just dishing out a bit of pain from a distance. Everything else is running headlong into the fire, and then trying to tap dance on your skull, which I think is just a lot of fun. It's just so many wounds to chew through. That's the thing. Like, even if it hits a wall, it's just so difficult to deal with because it's just so many wounds. So I think it's going to do incredibly well. I think it's a real sleeper list. Doesn't necessarily scream out as you as much as the real shooty knight lists, but that's a lot of big knights on the table. A lot of big knights. Then let's have a look at Martin Mcneil's list. So Martin Mcneil of Dice and Decks. Got to get used to saying that. He's gone for Jakari, Dark Elder to most of us. And again, very much a typical high-performing Dark Elder list, which is the detachment is the Cabal of the Black Heart, of course, so he gets access to the horrible Vex stratagem. He's got an Archon, he's got 2 Archons, he's then got 1, 2, 3 units of Cabalite Warriors. He's then got triple Ravager with disintegrator cannons, which is the way to go. He's then got a Razor Wing jet fighter, which is just more access to some heavy damage weaponry. He's then got a Raider and 2 Venoms as dedicated transports. He's then got a Craft World Alatok detachment, where he's got a Farseer and a Warlock, and he's got Rangers. So it's a patrol detachment. So he's just got access to some good spells there. He can doom, jinx people, can just make those poison shots even more effective. And then he has a Spearhead detachment, which is Prophets of Flesh. And he has a Homunculus, and he has heavy support with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Taloses. So just really hard to deal with. Loads of shots. He's got Haywire Blasters in there, so he's going to do a number on knights. Just really resilient. It's just such a good list. Very, very mobile. Hits like a ton of bricks. All over the board. Loads of little cheeky stuff he can do. He's got the access to the Eldar stuff through the patrol. It's just really solid. It's really up there. It's one of the best lists currently that's doing the rounds. So definitely, if Martin plays it well, and that's a big if, because Martin will even say himself he's probably not, your top 5 tournament player. But if he can get his head around it, he'll do some work there, 100%. I'm just gonna look at the chat. You right, Morgan? We do need another game. We do, 100%. Well, what is people saying? Well, I think 4 knights is a bit much. You think 4 knights is a bit much? How about 5? Well, the new rule 3 doesn't really affect knights because they're not all the same. But yeah, it is tough. Knights are a bit of a nightmare. There's no doubt about it. Mind the pun. But yeah, interesting. But it's a really, really strong, solid list. Really, really strong. Well, let's look at some more lists. So let me look at, where is it? Let's look at Rob Mitchell's Nergal list, which I pick it as my favourite list, as the one I think, not my favourite, I think Hobo's list is better. Well, it's more fun, but this I think is the best list. So he's gone for Nergal Demons. He's got an Outrider detachment which has the Scrivener in it. It has 3 fetid bloat drones with plague splitters. He has then 2 units of 3 obliterators. Then he has a Battalion Detachment which has Sloppity Piper, Poxbringer, Epidemus, and then in troops he has 1 unit of 30 plague bearers, 1 unit of 29, another unit of 29, and then 3 Nergal bases. And then he has a fortification of the ship tree, or the Narmor, whatever you want to call it. But this is a really, really solid list. It's surprisingly quick. It can get all over the board. It can hold up the board, so it's got huge board presence with the plague bearers, but also those fetid bloat drones are really difficult to deal with. So they'll kind of, you know, they'll really tank a lot of firepower, and they actually put in a bit of damage as well. And then the obliterators can jump down and do some serious damage as well. So I just think it's an incredibly powerful list. Really, really good. It plays the mission well. It does a lot of damage. It's resilient enough to hold up some of the harder hitting lists. It will really kind of pen your opponent in. It's just so good in so many ways. The tree will give those obliterators that resilience that they need. It's just so good. It's so good. And then on top of that, it's all demon stuff. So all those plague bearers are going to get better and better and better really, really quickly, because the Epidemus is going to get that tally going so quickly, because he's got quite a lot of damage output stuff as well. So before you know it, you know, turn 2, he's potentially going to have +1 to his disgusting resilience if he does really well. If not, he's still going to make those plague bearers are going to start to be really quite dangerous, really quite quick. It's just a really, really good list. It's just a very, very solid list, and something that we've seen quite a lot of, but it's a slight twist on it, but really solid, really solid. Hi, Scary. Hello, hello. How you doing, my friend? But yeah, it's a very, very powerful list, and one I think, I mean, I don't know the player, but if he plays that right, I'm not sure there's much here that can stop him. The Dark Eldar list, if Martin plays it well, has the tricks to potentially beat him. That match, I think if Martin can dispatch the knights, which he has the tools to do, and the Nergal can hold up those knights and win on points, I think those two are potentially destined to find each other somewhere along the line, if not in the final. So they would be my two. They're my two picks for the top. Really, really solid lists. So they are the strongest lists. There's a Tau one I want to talk about as well, because I like it, and because I think it's actually very strong. I've just got to find the right one, because it's nice to see there's quite a few Tau lists in here. And yeah, I really like this one. In fact, I think there's a few in here that I like, but I'm gonna pick on this one. So this is Peter Hudson's list, and he has got. So he's got a Fireblade. So he's got a Battalion Detachment. He's got a Fireblade. He's got a commander in an enforcer suit. He's like your buff commander. So he's got shield generator. He's got missile pods. He's got vector thrusters. So yeah, he's very much a buffing unit. He's not damage output at all. He's going to sit there and he's going to kind of, you know, do the work there. He's then got in troops. He's got some Kroot. He's got 3 units of strike teams, all 7-man units, but look, all 8-man units. So again, just making sure that he's avoiding that Reaper. And then in elites, he's got one Riptide. In fact, this definitely isn't the one that I was looking at, but it's still extremely strong. He's then got some stealth suits. Looks like he's got quite a few stealth suits. He's got 2 units of 6 stealth suits. So again, he's starting to get the deployment. So he's taking that ground really key. They're quite difficult to dislodge. He's got a ghost kill in there. He's got 2 units of Pathfinders. He's then got a spearhead detachment with a money shot, Mr. Longstrike himself. But Longstrike's got a railgun. Oh, that's an interesting choice. So I'm not sure about him with a railgun. But, you know, he is going to definitely deal with something big, I suppose. It's a different way to go. I technically have him with the Ion cannon personally. And then he has 3 hammerheads with ion. So that's really solid. I mean, I ran that at the London GT and it hits pretty damn hard. So it's a good list. It's a really good list. It's actually not the top tail one, I would say, but it's definitely strong. Let me try and find the one that I did think was the strongest. Right, here we go. So this one is another Peter. Peter Fargar. I'm terrible with my pronunciations. And he's got a Battalion Detachment, he's got a Fireblade, he's got a Commander in Cold Star armor with the 4 fusions, great unit. He's then got Troops choice of 4 strike teams, all minimum, which is nice. He's then got tactical drones, he's got 4 shield drones there. He's then got a Vanguard Detachment with a Commander in Cold Star armor, again, so 2 Cold Star. This one's slightly different. It's got a couple of burst cannons. It's got a couple of missile pods. And it's got a couple of shield drones, which is interesting. I'm not sure he's the best use in that. Will probably be my first criticism, but I can see what he's trying to do with him. Give him a few other options, and potentially he can be his buff commander. Doesn't necessarily need to go scudding off. And then he's got 3 Riptides, which is great. Let's have a look what he's got on his Riptides. So he's got Ion Accelerator, which is an interesting choice. But then he's got 2 with heavy burst cannons. He's got smart missile systems on 2 of them. He's got a fusion on 1. So again, there's a few sort of oddball choices, but sometimes it's not a bad thing to go with. And then he has an Outriders Detachment with another Fireblade, a couple of units of tactical drones, and these are marker drones. And then he's got the Wyvara. So this list is really solid. I really like it. Definitely think it potentially struggles with marker lights. It doesn't have particularly that many. I would change out one of his Cold Stars for Shadow Sun, because Shadow Sun would at least give him 2 full turns of rerolls. But he hasn't. But I think it's still a really, really good list. I like that. And then let's pick one last list before we call it a night, because this is quite a long video. Let's have a look at what else took my eye. Let's look at a Tyranid list, because it feels right to end on a Tyranid list. So let's look at Kieran's High Fleet Kraken list. So a very offensive list, something that Kieran's used a few times. He knows his Tyranids pretty well, so we'll definitely do all right. He's not a very, in 40k at the moment, I don't know. He might prove me wrong, but I don't think he's necessarily a really competitive player. But he's a good player. He knows what he's doing. I think he does well in other systems. So he's got, as I said, it's High Fleet Kraken. He's got 2 Broodlords. And then he has 3 units of Gene Stealers, 15 man and 2 14 man, which is good, not bad. I think the 14 is risky. One of those units is never going to make it anywhere near. But, you've got 3 units, so fingers crossed you'll use the stratagem on 1 to make sure you've got a pretty much guaranteed first turn charge, which is decent. And then hopefully the other one maybe gets in there turn 2 if you've got enough distraction tactics. Then we've got a Vanguard Detachment, and in the Vanguard Detachment is High Fleet Kronos, and that has a Neurophrope. It has 2 Neurophrope, and then it has Hive Guard. He's gone for 2 units of 3, which is a strange choice, because you generally want 1 unit of 6 to maximise that stratagem of shooting twice, but he's gone for 2 units of 3. There you go. Still good. Obviously, he's trying to make up that Vanguard Detachment, I suppose. Interesting choice there. Then he's got the Zoanthrope to make up his 3 Vanguard. He's then got a Supreme Command Detachment, and he's gone for a Leviathan in this, and you could probably guess what's coming. Yes, he's gone for 3 Flying Hive Tyrants, he's gone with 2 Twin Link Devourers. So he's gone full on shooting. So he's gone which is a ton of shots. So that is like 24 shots of 3 different guys. That's a lot of shooting. So he's hoping that he can do the damage with the Hive Guard and the Gene Stealers and the Brood Lords to leave his Hive Tyrants just flying around, just shooting tons of shots, clearing screens. And I like that. So you've got a tactic there. You know that what your plan is. Your game plan is those Hive Tyrants are there to clean out the chaff, to allow that first turn charge for your Gene Stealers to get through to the juicy stuff. So it's a clear game plan. I like it. He's put the right detachments with the right kind of high fleet. So he's got your Kronos for the reroll 1s, and also a bit of disruption. He's then got Leviathan to make those Hive Tyrants even more tanky. And then he's got the Kraken to make those Gene Stealers really fast. So I really like that. Really like that. So that's the last list I'm going to go through. I'll just give you a chance if you've got any questions on the list, if there's anything else you want to know. As I said, if you want to see more of the list, you can check them out at the Best Coast Pairing website. You can have a look there. Or, you know, or I'll probably do another video on the event when I get back with hopefully some pictures, and we'll kind of go through how I get on and what have you. So that's kind of where we are, but I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be an amazing event. I'm really hopeful that I'll do well. See whether I can, you know, get another GT win. I think that's ambitious. Looking at those lists, some really good lists in there. But we'll see what we can dig out. We'll see what we can do. So let's have a look, see if there's any questions. Right, let's go up. Plague bearers are nasty. Yeah, they certainly are. Lots of plague bearers in the ETC. Yeah, I mean the thing with the ETC, Scary, is basically, you know, those lists don't need to have any damage in output. They are, even though they will do damage, if things get through, they'll do serious amount of damage. But the reality of the plague bearers list in the ETC format is their frustration lists. They'll grind out the board. They're just extremes. So you're looking at 90s, 120 plague bearers, and they're just holding up the board. So really, really nasty. It's a real kind of, it's one you throw in there to kind of, you know, potentially stop your Eldar, or, you know, to stop your Knights, because Knights do struggle. When you do the math, and even a very stompy Knight goes into a unit of plague bearers, he actually probably only pulls about 4 plague bearers. So plague bearers are a really good anti-matchup that the ETC players can kind of throw against certain people. So I like it. Actually, sorry, I didn't stick some Nergal Demons on my Death Guard now. They seem to be popular. Yeah. Pete has the dirty towel list. Yeah, I got to that in the end. Yeah. Someone's saying that list hurts. Pure dirtbag. Yeah, nice. I love how quickly the meta shifts. Keep the game more fluid. 100%. Love it. Yeah. He drops the Hive Tyrants in turn 2 as flankers. Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully you enjoyed that, guys. I will put lots of pictures on my Instagram over the weekend. And as I said, hopefully I'll do a full kind of recap with some videos and all sorts going on. So that's kind of what's planned. But until the next time, thanks very much for tuning in and watching this video, and I'll see you all soon. Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye for now.